I once heard a creator say that there's no such thing as failing on YouTube. And it's true. 2 years ago, I uploaded my very first video to YouTube, and 134 videos later, I can genuinely say that YouTube has changed my life. And this is from someone who really struggled with the idea of not knowing what she wanted to do when she grew up. Wait a minute. Am I grown up? Now, although it pains me to watch my first video back, because let's be real, most of our first attempts at something are nowhere near as good as our 100-and-somethings. I hate talking to a camera. I've now got 50,000 subscribers, which classifies me as a small YouTube channel in the grand scheme of things, but that doesn't mean that the impact it's had on my life has been small by any means. So as a whistle-stop tour of what's happened since then, we've renovated and sold our first house, I quit my 9-to-5 job as a civil servant, became a professional runner, 3 marathons later, 1 England vest and 1 GB vest, I managed to get my boyfriend into running, I got to meet one of my lifelong heroes. No, not that one. Yeah, that's the one. And published 134 videos. Each and every one taking hours to plan, film, edit, and package. And it ain't over yet. 2 years. That's like almost 7% of my life? Crazy. So today I'm going to talk about how YouTube has changed our lives, because it's not just me who works on this channel, as many of you know. I'll also talk about how I think it's going to keep changing our lives and what's next. Life is constantly changing, and after a big goal, like the marathon I just ran in Houston, I think it's nice to have these reset moments to talk about what's changed, the lessons you've learned, and what's coming up on the horizon. And speaking of things coming up on the horizon, mark your diaries, guys. 29th of February, new merch is on its way. And there's gonna be running kit. Yeah! And then right at the end of this video, I'm gonna talk to you about how much we've made on YouTube. I feel like this is always a hot topic. People are always intrigued about what YouTubers actually get paid for making these videos. So I'm gonna give you those first few months of earnings back at the start of 2022, and I'll also give you our best and worst earning YouTube videos. I wonder if you can guess which they are. So let's take things back to the start, or before the start, in fact. Growing up, I never knew what I wanted to do, or be rather, when I become a grown-up. Because I feel like at that age, it's about who are you gonna be when you're an adult? And I joke about the long list of things that I considered being. Teacher, paramedic, lawyer, hairdresser, stylist, personal trainer, chef, therapist, dog trainer, police officer, the list goes on. And truth was, I think I found it hard to pick just one thing to do and to be okay with doing that every day. The same thing. It didn't make any sense to me. And the best advice I think I ever received was that you don't need to know what you want to do. And some of the most interesting 40-something-year-olds still don't. I think that might be a Baz Luhrmann lyric.
Wear sunscreen.
And I guess growing up, the job I have now, or cluster of jobs rather, didn't really exist. Getting paid to make YouTube videos, coaching amateur runners remotely online, and I certainly didn't think I'd ever be good at running to be able to call myself a professional. Even if I don't really class that as one of my jobs, because it literally makes me next to nothing financially. For now, anyway. It's more the fact, I guess, that being a runner is who I am. I was always a very creative kid though. Sporty, of course, and just doing all the extracurricular things. So I guess looking back, it's not surprising that I do what I do now. What does surprise me though is that it took so long for me to get here, relatively speaking. I'm 28 and I spent nearly 3 years working as a civil servant after finishing my studies, feeling lost the entire time and feeling like an absolute imposter in the workplace because it wasn't what I wanted to be doing and I just didn't fit in. And now I can genuinely say, I love my life, I love what I do, and I love how I make my money, but it wasn't as simple as a quick switcheroo to get here. Yes, we started this channel 2 years ago, but I was still working as a civil servant for the first year of us making these videos. But just starting the YouTube channel was the start of things changing. Even if I have to hold my hands up and say that I did not believe Daniel when he said that one day, this could be a job.
I told you so, I told you so.
And now his job is editing YouTube videos. And not just for this channel, but for other creators as well. And that's pretty freaking awesome because he loves it and he's really good at it. So gradually, after starting the channel, we get monetized. I was able to start my coaching business and take on 5 or so athletes part-time whilst still working for the government. And then it was really a transition of ramping up the YouTube in terms of quality, gaining subscribers, gaining views, and building up my coaching business until it got to the point where I was able to afford to hand in my notice as a civil servant. And I made an entire video about quitting my old job to do what I'm doing now, so you can go and watch that afterwards as well if you want a little bit more detail. All right, so that's what's changed, but how has it actually changed what our lives look like? How hasn't it, honestly? Now that we're effectively our own bosses, we get to live a lot more flexibly, which has its pros and cons. We get to choose our own schedule, go away, work from where we want to, when we want to, and for me, this means structuring my whole life really around my training and where that needs to take me, which makes for some pretty fun content along the way. I think it's also made our lives more fulfilling. Because we're choosing our own work, everything we do is for our own businesses, which is a lot more motivating and fulfilling than hitting KPIs or targets set by someone else that works for a bigger machine that's kind of nothing to do with you. You just happen to be employed by them. That's how I feel anyway. And I guess one of the downsides of that is that it can be a lot harder to set boundaries. Working on social media means that you can be briefly checking your feed to see what one of your friends is up to or to watch some funny videos, but then you also see a snarky comment that someone's made on one of your videos, and then you also think to just check the analytics for that video and see how well it's performing. Boundaries are definitely more difficult, and that's a work in progress. Sometimes we work every day for an entire month with little pockets of free time here and there, and we can definitely be guilty of taking on too much sometimes. It's hard to say no, but it's a really easy trap to fall into when you genuinely love what you're doing. So it could be worse. Which leads me nicely onto some of those valuable lessons we've learnt along the way, some of which from our most challenging times. Sometimes, trying to make a big change in your life is made harder by yourself. The sponsor of today's video is Days, and these guys make great tasting alcohol-free pale ales and lagers. Now it's February, and some of you watching this video may have done dry January, and you might have done it the hard way by cutting out all alcohol and not allowing yourself to enjoy the things you normally enjoy whilst drinking alcohol. And you probably just starved yourself of socializing and going to the pub. And I'm here to say that it doesn't need to be that way. Yes, dry January is over, but you might still want to put your health first, but still socialize with your friends, which may involve being at alcoholic settings like parties and pubs, but you don't have to miss out completely. Days are all about all the fun, all the great taste, but without the negative effects of alcohol. So you can have great tasting beer, still socialize with your friends, but not have a headache the next day. Don't make your life more miserable than it needs to be, and make the right choices to enjoy everything in moderation. And no press ups are needed, I promise. So if you want to join the good side and try the best tasting alcohol-free beer around, use my code Phily20 at daysbrewing.com or click the link in the description, and they don't judge you if you drink it with a straw. I hope my biceps got bigger after that. It's funny because I was just talking about how making YouTube videos means that you can be more flexible with your time. Well, it's been about 4 hours since I last filmed for this video, hence the fleece. It's a bit colder now. I just had to run to my physio appointment quickly, and now I'm back. So the interval ends here. Top of the list of the things that we've learned from YouTube, I would say, is that perfect doesn't exist. There is no point in striving for perfection because you can get better every video, and therefore you're constantly developing your craft, you're learning the way that you want to create videos, and I think we've fallen victim before to looking for this perfect that doesn't exist. And also, keeping a few mistakes in the videos, like we have done in the past, can sometimes be some people's favourite part of the video. And being a perfectionist never served me that well in doing anything else, so I'm not wholly surprised at this one. And the second most important thing I'd say we've learned is to be ourselves. Because when you are genuinely being yourself, it comes across in that way, which people enjoy watching, I think, if they like you. If they don't, fine. But you don't want to come across in a way that looks like you're trying to be someone else or trying not to be yourself. I think that's the beautiful thing about content creation and how different people's videos are, is that they're different because we are all different, and that's great. It would be so boring if we were all the same. And to tack on the back of that, I'd say don't copy other people's content, because that wouldn't be you being yourself, but definitely take inspiration from what you've seen other content creators do, a style of video, even a concept, but make it your own. And I'm naturally phrasing this as advice, even though it's something we've learned. But if you are starting a YouTube channel or you're making YouTube videos now, this would be my advice. Next most important thing that I've learned, which is on the nerdy scale of things, but that is audio, and good audio, really hoping this sounds good, is far, far more important than good imagery and good video quality. Some of our earlier videos had some pretty shocking audio in. Not to run a PB because the atmosphere is like... And there's research out there that shows that people are far more willing to watch a video that has sub-quality picture versus sub-quality audio. Because if you can't hear what someone's saying, what are you getting from the video? So, start with an iPhone, yes, but invest in some audio equipment. One of the things that I've learned the hard way is that running comes first. For me, that's my baby. That's what I am pursuing through all of this, and you get to see the content that's made around it. But that means that if the running falls to the wayside, I get injured, or I'm not really prioritizing the running by not getting enough sleep or not doing my gym stuff because I'm focusing too much on the content, then I risk the running going downhill, or even worse, stopping altogether. So for me, putting running first and then having everything tiered after that is the right balance to have. And I think this is probably translatable to other niches as well. If you're creating content, obviously your mental health comes first, but if there's, family involved, you have people you care for, don't let YouTube be at the top of that pyramid. Just don't do it. We have learned the hard way, and I think it's just resulted in extra stress at times. As long as you learn from these mistakes, then you're all good, which so far I think we are. And before I move on to some of the most challenging times, the last thing that I've learned that I would recommend to everyone and anyone in the content space, or even just in your little work bubble, ask for help. If you don't ask, you don't know how willing people are to help. And let me tell you, content creators, in my experience, are lovely, helpful people who want to see you do well. So use them, learn from their mistakes, and then you might not have to make some of the top tip. All right. Moving on to some of the biggest challenges in that 2-year span. I go away a lot. I go on a training camp for 5 or 6 weeks to get my altitude fix, and then I come down and race. And especially in the early days of YouTube, for example, the Seville Marathon that I did roughly a month and a half after we started this channel, Daniel couldn't come with me, which made creating the content a lot harder because we are a team. A lot of the time, he's behind the camera, especially when there's action involved. And of course, he edits all of these amazing videos. So when I go away and he can't come with me, I have to send him the footage. I have to figure out how to use all of the different settings when I'm not just propping it up like I am now. And our kind of natural workflow doesn't work as well. Thankfully, most of the time we can now afford to bring Daniel with me, and we can both get in on the fun, because it is fun going away, going to altitude, going on these trips, going to races, and it's more fun when we're both together. But when we're not, it's definitely more challenging for both of us working remotely from the other half of our respective dream team. I think sometimes I've found it challenging to confront the brutal honesty that I sometimes talk about in these videos. Not so much now, but I think back to filming the video about my experience in Oregon, talking about my history with an eating disorder. That can be difficult to film, but also difficult for me mentally after the fact, when I've kind of brought up all of that raw trauma, I guess. So sometimes it can be challenging to just meet that head on, and you just have to be kind to yourself. I don't regret sharing any of that whatsoever, otherwise I wouldn't have put it out on the internet, but it is a challenge. And the other thing that continues to be challenging was definitely more so at the start of our YouTube journey, but it still flares up from time to time, and that's the joy of the technology you're working with. Microphones, cameras, batteries, memory cards, lighting. the editing software. It all breaks. It all doesn't work how it should do sometimes. For example, the other day I filmed a video down here with this very mic, and the receiver on the camera had died halfway through my spiel, and that was really annoying. We have had to refilm a lot of content, entire videos sometimes, and that's really frustrating. But I think it happens to everyone, so one of those things. So what's next? At the start of the video, I gave you a list of some of the things that we have done during this 2-year span of YouTubing and what some of those videos have been. What's next? We have got some exciting goals for this channel. Some of them are a little bit more arbitrary, some of them are a bit more personal. We'd love to hit 100k subscribers by the end of this year, if we can. That involves almost doubling our subscriber count, but I think we can do it with some really strong videos in the pipelines. Which brings me to the need to call on you. Yes, you, the unsubscribed viewer of this video. We need you to click on that subscribe button underneath this video. It's free. All it takes is a click of the finger, and we will love you eternally for it. A continuing goal for us is to be developing our businesses, developing the quality of these videos, and keep bringing new exciting ideas to you guys, changing it up, trying new things, maybe surprising you along the way. We obviously want to keep developing our businesses. The YouTube channel is one of those. We've got the merch business. There's some other exciting ideas in the pipeline, but those are secrets for now. On a running level, I'd love to get back in a GB vest this year. That would be amazing. It's always a great feeling to represent your country, and I'm eyeing up the European Championships this summer, so let's see. It would be really cool. And obviously, the whole year is ahead of us. I've got to go and run another marathon. So I've gone through the last 2 years, learnings, challenges, what's up next, how YouTube has changed our lives. What was I gonna do? I promised you I would share a little bit of information about what we've earned on YouTube. So we started making videos in January 2022. It took us a few months to get monetized because you need to gain 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, which means if you have a 10-minute video, there has to have been eyeballs on the screen watching that video for 4,000 hours altogether. It took us until April. So we officially got monetized. By April, we got our Google AdSense set up. It was all very exciting. And what that means is you can earn money from what the advertisers pay YouTube to put ads in your video. It's a percentage that YouTube passes on to the creator. I think it's 55%. I can't actually remember what the percentage is. Daniel will put it down here. That's what YouTube gives back to the creator of that ad revenue. It varies from month to month on what advertisers are paying based on the year. I think November is like the highest CPM because you've got Christmas shopping and Black Friday and all of that. I digress. That's how you earn money on YouTube. So April 2022 was our first month of making money, and we made a grand total of £178.84. I'm assuming that's converted from dollars. YouTube pays in dollars, but that's obviously converted to pounds because we're British over here. Second month of being monetized in May, we ramped that all the way up to £420.78, which is not nothing. That's pretty good. And then in June, that went up to £500.55. You could buy a whole new fridge freezer with that and probably have some change. So those were our first 3 months of being monetized. And in comparison, I'm gonna give you our worst performing video financially and our best performing video. Interestingly, it doesn't match up with the view count. This will make sense when I get to it. Our worst performing video technically was our first video, which was me winning the Farnborough Half Marathon because we earned nil points from that video. It got demonetized because the music that we used in it was copyright. So we couldn't earn anything from it. Our worst earning video that actually was able to earn us some money was the first Q&A video that we did, which earned us a grand total, drum roll, of £34. Still, that's a takeaway. Our best video so far at the time of filming, interestingly, is not our most viewed video. And that was the running as an Oregon Duck, almost ended my career, my NCAA story. Second best video in terms of views at the time of filming. Best video in terms of earnings. And that earned us a grand total of £1,890. Damn. At the time of filming this video, we have 51,027 subscribers. It's the 31st of January. Let's go back and see. This time last year, we had 16,150 subscribers. So with some quick maths, we've gained this many since this time last year. And 2 years ago, 161! Wow! We've gained 50,000 and something since then. That's crazy. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thunk it? And honestly, to every single one of those people who are subscribed, some of whom are watching this video, I'm sure, thanks for being such a legend. Because without people watching these videos, yeah, we would have created some, we'd have put them out there, but if no one was watching them and no one was subscribing, we probably would have lost the love for it. Because part of the love we have for it is the interaction we get from people saying that they enjoy what we're creating, saying it made them laugh, saying it made them inspired, that they were motivated to go and run. And that's honestly been my favorite way that YouTube has changed my life. The community that we have built and that you guys have allowed us to build, because you've bought in, interacted with the content, supported us, and, you know, total strangers resonating with what we create is so special. And I feel so lucky to be able to call it my job. Now, I'm not trying to preach that everyone should start a YouTube channel, although it may sound like I am. But I am encouraging you to act on those goals and dreams you have, especially if they're scary. And try things. I didn't know this was my dream job, but I gave it a go with some amazing support and I haven't looked back. But if you are considering starting a YouTube channel, especially if you're in the running space and especially if you're a young female athlete, yes, I am biased, women's sport needs more of you. So do it! I would love to see more female running creators and female sports people creating content because there's not enough of us, and I think it's really important to inspire people that look like you and that identify with what you're doing. So if that's you, you can always reach out to me if you want any more advice on how to get started. And that's a brownie's promise. I was a brownie, I'll have you know. And starting is often the most scary part, isn't it? But if you just accept that your starting point isn't meant to be anywhere near as good as your middle point, I know what I'm doing now, or even your finishing point, it can make it a little bit easier. And where you start from might be a bit rubbish, and that's okay. Please all go and watch my first ever video that I created if you need to understand that. Actually, don't do that. It's a rubbish video. Go and watch this one instead. Yeah, watch this one. It's much better. You'll enjoy this one way more. Love the grind, people. Mwah.